This episode of Scab Talk is brought to you by Lethal Gaming Gear. And welcome back to Scab Talk, everyone. Today's episode, we'll be discussing the patch 16.5 that came out earlier this week following an event, which I've recently learned is not just your average or some of the earlier types of events. This one's pretty significant. We'll talk about that. Then we got a little bit on arena news, some backend changes courtesy of Logical Solutions, followed by just general tech, DSLR upscaling stuff. Seems like Giga's done some stuff. I've seen a few videos.
Alphabet soup.
Interest. Yeah. Your usual Tarkov news roundup, the Nikita leaks, and maybe if we got time at the end, share a trailer from last week's episode. Talked about Rust custom community map, City of Tarkov.
There's a lot, which is quite surprising because we only just recorded the last one on, was it Monday?
I think it was like Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, so it was like 4 or 5 days ago or something. And then I'm like looking through the thing, and then man, it's like so much. There's so much going on. So I guess we'll just start with some like basic stuff, and then we can go on to all of the more tasty things in a short second. So BSG did release, first and foremost, something that they said they're going to do monthly, which is quite cool, called the Community Digest. And I think this is partly to do with Tarkov.community, which is still, running strong and doing well, and there's lots of cool stuff going on over there and lots of discussion about things and whatever. But anyway, the Community Digest, it says, once a month, we will share the most interesting news about Escape from Tarkov and Tarkov Arena projects, as well as highlight key events of the past month. First issue will summarize the development progress since the beginning of 2025, discuss the Tarkov community project, a unified platform, and it complements the official bug channels. So if you look at the infographic that they've built, it says, 15 updates since last wipe, launch in Latin America, multiple in-game surveys. And then we've talked about most of these things, actually, with the Tarkov.community bit in the bottom left. It's, reduction of AI visibility and grenade throwing time. This is all planned stuff. Ability to gradually turn in items for hideout zones. So it shows you, in slightly more detail what they've got. Well, I guess not in more detail. It shows you in a more aggregated way what BSG are actually looking at on this thing versus the Tarkov community stuff that they say is planned. So hopefully we'll see these things soon. And then coming in the nearest update, more crafty recipes for the Intel Center, remove found ways stones for ammo, special container for keys, ability to fill empty water bottles at the water collector in the hideout. Should actually go and check that because I don't know if that's been done or not in this latest patch, but I didn't see it in there. But I'll go and check that in a sec. And then, what we've done so far, the things about Partisan and AI rebalancing that we talked about last time, so I won't go through those again.
Yes.
And then, they've got, what's next? Escape from Tarkov Arena, technical patch 2.9 coming with optimization and DLSS 4. Early April will bring patch 3, or 0.3, I should say. A content update with the long-awaited Battle Pass, and sometime later it will be released on EGS. The main Tarkov, we'll continue our work on technical updates and fixing ongoing issues. You can expect additional optimization, quality of life in the nearest updates. And we'll also soon release an updated roadmap for upcoming patches. So we're going to be seeing, I guess, the 2025 roadmap, which would be nice, and get an idea of what they're still looking at, how that... Well, I guess we kind of came off the back of the last one, so it's going to be fascinating to see what that roadmap looks like, because as we've been discussing over the past 6 months or something, we're kind of in the 1.0 danger territory. Do you know what I mean? It's at some point we might release, it's looking, I would say, with a great probability that it's going to be within the next 2 years at some point, right? So it'll be interesting because they want to surprise people with stuff. It'll be interesting to see how much they actually put on that roadmap. So if they do this once a month, then that's going to be pretty cool. After that, they then ended up releasing the patch, which is sort of referenced in that community note thing, but it came pretty much straight away afterwards. So that's the latest version of the game that we're on right now, which is the 16.5 version. So the sort of halfway through patch where you get some decent changes. Yep. This one we have some audio stuff. So rebalance the wind and rain volume. Reduce the volume of first and third person looting sounds. To be honest, they were quite loud. Increase the volume radius of player movement. I don't know exactly why they did this, because I feel like it was maybe it was a little bit short. I don't know. I think we'll see. Maybe I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. reduced the reverb effect on locations, which is probably fair because it's a little too much in some places. I had a hilarious one the other day playing on Ground Zero, and there was a scav inside, and it sounded like the Labs announcer. It was
Oh
like
wow.
unhinged level. It was just like round the corner. It was like so weird with all this reverb. It was like something like completely crazy. It was in the building, you know, the one that you spawn in sometimes down by Nakatani. You're sort of stuck. It's like the one opposite Nakatani. It's the one with the grenade launcher in it. And downstairs, it's like the sort of the lobby foyer. It was down in there. And when I walked like partway through, it was outside. It was inside audio, and then it suddenly went to like raining outside. But like while I was inside, I crossed some weird threshold in the building, and it was like, "Oh, you're outside now, and it's raining." I was like, "What?" And I like went round the corner, and then the scav was just like, and I was like, "What is going on with it? This is like completely cooked." So yeah, it's really strange. And then they've equalized the volume of sounds with and without active headsets, and equalized the volume for all active headsets, which is interesting. Let's get through the rest of them before I start waxing lyrically about audio. But we'll come back to this in a sec. So graphics improve the system of flashlight glare. Now multiple flashlights on a weapon will not produce blinding glare at close ranges for the observer. So you can't just stack multiple flashlights on each other. I haven't tested this as of yet. I saw there was a bug recently where you could switch the deval. I think you did like it was like the third press or something, and it was for an observer. It was like a red, like beam kind of thing, but for you didn't see anything. I think it was something wrong with like the synchronization of the infrared mode versus some other mode or something. It was just like really weird. So I don't know. I'm not sure whether that's fixed, to be honest with you, but I did see a few people getting killed by that on Twitter over the last couple of weeks. So, but yeah, you can't stack all these things a million times anymore, which is good. Balancing a new case for storing keys in the stash available for purchase at Therapist Loyal level 1 and 2. I actually forgot about this until I was just quickly running over these before the cast. So I went and bought one because I literally just forgot. So you can, so the trade levels 1 and 2 Therapist, the level 1 version, not that I think anybody's ever going to do this barter, but you need 2 Gingy keychains, which is not that hard to get, and 2 Willer's wallets, which is a bit more annoying to get, and a tank battery.
Oh yeah, no.
So that's not going to happen, to be honest, because tank batteries end up being kind of expensive anyway, and I don't think the barter's even really worth it. Gingys are like 50, 60k to the trader, so Willer's wallets are, quite a bit as well, so it's just sort of pointless. At level 2, you can buy this thing for 550k, so, and getting to level 2 Therapist is not that hard, so most people will just buy it in cash. It's also available to purchase it on the flea. A lot of the time, it's cheaper on the flea than it is. It's like maybe it's spawn. It must be spawning somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's a quest reward for this new event or something. I don't know. But I can see there's like a load of them up there. They're not banned on the flea or anything. And sometimes people are putting them under the price of the trader, so they're not flipping. Like the trader price is 550, and someone's got one up right now for 525. So it's that people aren't flipping these. I mean, there are some flips, obviously, but who's not got Therapist level 2 at this point? It seems quite a small number of people. So it's pretty easy to get, which is good. I'm not unhappy about that whatsoever. It is 77 in size. Given no keys are 2 slots, it doesn't actually matter what the shape is, but I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 by 11, which is nice. So it's pretty huge. When you consider a docks case is 16 and the sit case is 25, I think. Yes, it is. So it's like 3 sit cases in size for your stash for half a mil, which I think is pretty fair.
How big is the actual? Like, can you put
it? Is
take
2
it
by 3, same as a mag case. I very much doubt you can even take it in. It's 0. You're not allowed to take a non. If you like, maybe because this is the thing, Tarkov differentiates between like non-fan raid cases and fan raid cases for the purposes of like 6 and stuff like that you find in muck rooms and things. So I don't know whether it's different for a found in raid one because I don't have one. So you may be able to pick one up in raid if it's in like maybe they added it to the marked room pool or something. I don't know. But yeah, a non-fan raid one like the one I've just bought, 0 is the limit. So that's good. Honestly, it's nice. Just nice quality of life thing. You can put key cards in there as well. It's not just keys.
Okay.
So you can put key cards in there too, so access cards or anything like that. I basically just cleared up all the rest of the random ones I've got. I mean, there's still some value in having little docs cases or whatever with them separated and stuff, because there's no sorting or anything. There's no tabbing. I mean, I didn't expect them to do that. It's much easier for them to just like add a model for a basic case and just put a grid than it is for them to do any other. Like, we don't have tabs anywhere else, right? Other than the ones in the main UI. Right? Aren't any other cases with tabs or anything. So
Right.
I wasn't expecting that to happen. So this is just the easiest implementation, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, maybe there's some argument to having different like docs cases and stuff still for that kind of thing. But
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, I think I'm most disappointed in the barter trade level 1. That is like so egregiously bad. Like, I mean, yeah, the tabs things definitely would have been nice, but like you said, that's like a lot of extra work. Like someone's gonna make a whole new system, right?
Yeah.
The barter thing, I just feel like, God, that is so out of touch with like anything remotely close to reality, and like that is insanely overpriced.
Yeah. It's like it's BSG's. I mean, when you look at it on, I mean, a tank battery is like 210. Like, in terms of pricing, it's probably about the same ultimately. Like 210 plus, I mean, Willis is quite expensive right now at 120. So 210 plus 240. So that's like 450, and then you got two of these at 60. But I mean, I think the Willis wallets have jumped in price because of this. Maybe that's probably what people were doing. They were probably buying the parts, and then that's where the flips are, right? People are then arbing the barter versus this thing. So that the Willis wallet has had to go up in price because otherwise you can then, offset the key case from level 2 against level 1, and people will buy it just because it's cheaper and easier. So that's probably driven up the price of the Willis wallet. I would guess. If actually, we can go and check that. I'm intrigued now if I'm correct. Because usually with these things, normally if suddenly you get right, it's not coming up. Wallet. There we go. Oh, it's called the WC wallet. That's why. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. So Willis wallets were going for like 28k, 29k, 30k, something like that.
Oh.
And they've jumped to 120,000 because of this barter. Because it's like the most rare item closes the gap. That's how this stuff. That's how this stuff works. It's like if you can easily get the other items, then the most rare item usually takes up most of the slack in pricing for some barter. So these wallets are now a lot more expensive because of this key thing, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, which I guess that's more of my critique is like, Wilder, like, it's when you put it in the context, it's loyalty level 1, so like, flea market's kind of far out. Like, if I'm not mistaken, are you not just going to unlock flea by the time you get loyalty level 2? Like,
yeah, basically, yeah.
So it's like they put in, like, when are you ever going to find 2 Genji keychains, tank battery, and 2 Wilder's wallet before you hit flea? Like or before you even hit level 2? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think that's like why it's so like, feels like a slap in the face.
Yeah, it's also BSG's obsession with multiple quantities of rare items for these barters. It's like 1 Gingy and 1 Willis. It's like, well, I might find those, but like 2 of each. It's like, well, now I've got to consistently find like every rare item in the game, and I'm probably going to find 2 of everything. If I'm having to find them myself, which is the intention of these things, right? Because otherwise I'm going to get to level 2 and just buy it. Then I've got to go and find 2 of every rare item is the implication.
Yeah.
Not just get lucky and find 1 each, right? I've now got to consistently find at least 1 of every, like, because they're all in the same pool together. It's just really silly. There's items that are expensive because of the trader prices. There's items that are expensive because they're rare. It just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
it's
the
disappointing.
Just it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's non-existent. But yeah,
they've just not really thought about it very, very hard. Which is, I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But yeah. Okay, so then from here we've got new keys thing. We've got new crafting recipes at the intelligence center in the hideout. Now this one I haven't actually looked at yet. There is a list of them via our good friend Logical Solutions, which we can pull up. I'm just gonna have a quick look at mine because I only have Intel Center 2 because the Intel Center 3 requires the special labs items, so most people don't have Intel Center 3. Very few people. So Intel Center 2, what have I now got? I think some of these we had before. So secure, you can make secure magnetic tape cassette. Could you make that before? You can make SAS drives. You could make maps previously. You can now make a labs access card found in RAID. That's new. I don't think you could make SMTs previously, the secure tapes and the SAS drives. I don't think you could make those before.
I don't remember.
I wonder actually. So let me just go on the wiki. Crafting, because usually the wiki is not updated instantly, so it may not be up to date yet. Let me just have a quick look. List of crafts. Let's go Intelligence Center, because that's Intelligence Center 2, DSP, Topographic Survey, Secure Flash Drive, Vertex, COFDM, RFD, VPX, 11SR. That was the old level 2, and most of them required a Lightkeeper task to do. So the ones that didn't require Lightkeeper tasks is Secure Flash Drives, Survey Maps,
and docs, and
11SR.
Oh,
which was the Intel one?
Must be level 3 then.
Let me see. Yeah, there was printer paper and military flash drive. That was level 3.
Okay.
Intelligence Sender. So I don't even have that. Okay, so yeah, so SMT is new. Secure Magnetic Tape. That's new. SAS Drive is new. SAS Drive, because SMT is not used for anything, but is SAS Drive used for something? I feel like there might be something you need SAS Drives for at some point.
Like a quest
maps
requirement?
Kind of not really that. Yeah, maybe, because that's the main reason why these things are important, because you get the finding rate tick. Like normally it doesn't, three hard drives and 2 magnets. It's like, well, that's probably cost more than a SAS drive. Like you don't need to do it if you need it founding raid for some reason. 3 labs cards. I mean, that's really useful for that phishing thing from Jaeger. You need 3 labs cards. Stops you having to do it through Scav. That you basically take an RFID reader and an Intel and craft them into 3 labs cards. It takes a while, but that's no big deal. There's the 11SR key, which we already had, and then there's the Terra Group blue folders, which you can now actually make. I wonder if
oh wow, okay.
I wonder if that's locked behind. I wonder if there's a requirement for that I've done. I don't think so, because I've not got to Lightkeeper yet or done any of his quests. So blue folders might just be craftable now. I mean, it's not even that bad. It's like SMT, 2 Intels, a military flash drive, and a secure flash drive. Anyway, so those are the ones from. Those are the ones from level 2. Then Logical put up a bunch of other ones. Now there is red card for labs. It doesn't say anything about quest requirements. I'm not sure yet, but labs red. So that's like 5 blue folders, 10 labs cards, 3. I mean, it's expensive. 3 VPX. Like there's a whole bunch, 2 vertexes. There's loads of stuff, and that gets you. Then you can make red labs card that way. You can make green with something similar. I think you could make purple already previously. That was out of yellow and a bunch of other stuff. Is that it? I think that's it for level 3. Like you could always make GPUs, but you had to. I think you had to. It's either base level 3 or you had to do a quest or something. I can't remember now. Anyway, so there's a couple of other things, but most of these ones are at level 2, which is kind of nice to see. Right, where were we then? God, I'm losing myself in all these attachments. Okay, yeah, so that was the new crafting recipes. Good. And then they removed founding raid status for all ammo. The ammo now doesn't have founding raid. So when you finish crafting, it doesn't have founding raid on it. Why is this important? Because if you try to top up, so say you go into raid and you take some ammo, you take some M61 from your crafting stack, you go into raid, it becomes non-founding raid, you come out of the raid, you try to top up your ammo stack from your stash using the menu, and it won't do it because the game will not take founding raid ammo and combine it with non-founding raid ammo. It is now a pointless mechanic because you used to have a founding raid ammo to list it on the flea. Now you don't need to do that anymore. So the only reason why it had any impact at all is for daily quests. So it's really, that was just really like it's a non-issue. And so people have been asking them to get rid of the ammo so that you can always top up and you can always refill mags with founding raid ammo, regardless of whether it's non-founding raid or founding raid in your actual mags, because you used to delete the founding raid status. So anyway, they got rid of it completely. Usual BSG fashion, the first iteration of this when it came out was a complete mess, and it removed the founding raid, but it also removed all quantity. So people had an ammo box full of M61, 40 stacks in each box, and they turned up in their stash, and there was 1 M61 in each stack, which is great. So people had all their founding raid ammo basically deleted. But they did actually manage to fix it. I'm amazed, honestly. I'm amazed they managed to.
Really?
They must have had some way. Yeah, it was like an hour later or something. They were like, "Oh, technical fix, blah blah blah." And even people who logged in went back in, and all their ammo was back.
Right? Yeah, that's.
I actually don't know how they did that. Yeah, I know. I think a lot of people were like, I saw Airwing just being like, I was ready for all that to be gone. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be gone. I hadn't logged in, so I was like, oh, maybe mine will get repaired because my account I haven't even touched it or anything. But yeah, everyone got all their ammo back. I'm surprised. So yeah, so Founding Raid for ammo is gone, which is good. I wonder if we still have Founding Raid for cash. Can't remember.
Probably.
Probably, but I mean, that doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, so that's better. But then I've got a few other bits. AI, regular scavs will now say a voice line before attacking an enemy at close range if they are within the player's limited line of sight. So I guess it won't just like one shot you with saying nothing. They'll shout at you before they do you the service of taking you back to the lobby. And then a bunch of fixes. Fixed issue with pain sounds not playing when interacting with environment stuff. So that's like barbed wire fire or whatever. Issue with vegetation sounds not playing for the players, some sound occlusion things. They fixed the game client freezing after ending a raid with MIP streaming enabled. It's probably worth going and testing this again at some point. Maybe Clem needs to go and have a look at this, or me, one of us, because MIP streaming just hasn't worked for ages. It's just not functioned. Like it's just it looks like you're playing Doom 95, like level of texture quality. Like you could play Factory with MIP streaming on, and everything's just like muddy. It's like super awful textures. Who knows? Maybe they fixed something behind this. Maybe that was part of the problem. It was using too much memory or something. A lot of people were saying that it was doing the opposite of what it should be doing, and ended up using like more VRAM than if you're on high. So there was some bug with it. So I don't know whether this has made it better. When people were having these like big long freezes at the end of the raid, it usually was because in the past me and various other people had said, "Oh, try MIP streaming if you've got VRAM issues because it's quite good."
Mm-hmm.
And then basically broke it, but they obviously didn't get the memo, right? Because it's like hard to, unless you're literally playing this game full time, or at least watching the community full time, it's very easy to miss the next update, right? Unless you like see the next video just kind of by chance or whatever. So some people still had it on. There was like waves of people coming in being like, "Oh, I just like after raid ends, it takes me like 3 minutes." I'm just like, "Yeah, turn MIP streaming off." So that's been like that for 3 patches, I would imagine, like 3 sort of full wipes. So apparently that's fixed. The next one, there was something people complaining in my Discord about, actually, where if you reloaded, there was a way to reproduce it too. There was basically any open bolt weapon, the Uzi and the PPSH were in particular the ones that people were talking about with this, where you did some reload in a particular way, and then you couldn't shoot again until you'd either got into your inventory or something like that.
Oh.
So apparently that's fixed now. I don't know exactly what it was. It was some weird animation because there's no bullet. It's like something to do with the fact it's open bolt. So there was some strange thing. It's why it's both the Uzi and the PPSH that were having these problems. Some skill stuff. What else? This is incorrect behavior items. Nothing that interesting. Incorrect water filter consumption at the water collector. I don't think anyone even noticed that. Incorrect weight of 9x21 ammo. Missing damage from explosions with the AGS and PvE. Is there anything else interesting here? I didn't actually read through all of these fixes before.
I took a gander. I didn't really see anything that stood out.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing else. Oh, this one's actually very minor, but I've noticed it before. Fix the container block activation when trying to use the corresponding item block hotkeys when naming containers. This is extraordinarily cryptic, but I know what they're talking about because I've had it happen to me. If you are naming a container or a magazine, you're tagging it, and you call it, LOL, for example. Actually, that's a bad example. If you call it LMAO on your magazine, pressing L in the naming will activate the L hotkey for locking containers. And so when you then go back to you like open up, say, tag a mag, you press L Mayo, you go back into the inventory after pressing OK. Now when you click on stuff, the lock mechanism is activated. So you're like locking stuff. It's just like really annoying. You don't necessarily notice, right? But like L for lock, P for pin for the automatic thing, so you can like mass lock containers in your inventory. That obviously shouldn't be activating when you're like typing into the tag system, right? So that's what they've turned off with that. I've seen that before myself. Okay, and then the rest of them are just like other random bugs. So that's the main patch notes in general. Let's should we get what should we do next? There's like a little bit for arena. This is about because it's a lot of this is bleeding into this quest now. Let me talk about audio very, very quickly just before we go into the big quest section, because that's going to take like a lot of time. There's all sorts of other stuff because we haven't quite touched the surface of that yet. So I'm testing audio right now. I'm building a video about it like at the moment because it was the main thing that I wanted to look at. And whenever they change the stuff, especially given that they said rebalance the audio of all the headsets and yada yada yada. And I wanted to look at it in a bit more of a detailed way. So I'm actually changing my method a little bit. I've like done the old method where I just look at like the max sound and stuff, but I've like done. You could go crazy doing some analysis, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you could really go to some ridiculous levels. I'm not an audio engineer either. I've got a science background, so broadly I'm aware of how this stuff works in a very generalistic sense, but I'm not an audio expert. And so when it comes to doing these things, that's one of the reasons why I've usually stuck to at what max distance can I hear this sound through my system. It's like, yeah, that max distance might be different for different people, but at least it should be like the ordering of the headsets should at least be consistent.
Yeah,
between
that makes
people, right?
sense.
Depending on how high low you've got your volume. If one goes out further than the other, you should hear this one first before the others, kind of regardless of where you've got your volume. There are cases where that may not be true for various reasons, but it's roughly good enough. And that's kind of how I've usually done my stuff. So I did that as usual. It looks like the range. So last time, because the range got crushed down loads for patch 16, you just couldn't hear people anymore. Contact 6's for running was 50 meters. It looks like everything has been broadly increased by about 40 to 50%. So contacts are back up to like 71 meters now.
What's the delta between that
which
and
is quite high?
The lowest, like GSH?
Well, so previously it was GSSH 44 up to contact 6 is at 50.
Yeah, I remember that being
16.
quite
like
small from where they used to be.
Yeah, it was quite short, but I feel like it was also kind of okay. Now the delta, so for me, the Razer just doesn't work at all, really. Like the Razers are really bad now, in my opinion. They seem to be the worst headset from what I can tell. But running, they're still 59 meters. So they are longer than the Contact 6s used to be. And then Contact 6s are 71. So we've gone from low to high, worst headset to best, 44.50 to 59.70. So it's a boost of
gap.
15 to 20 meters ish.
I never really like Razers either, so like for me that tracks. They're too like high.
I used to like them. I used to quite like the way that they sounded. But now they're just like they seem to suck on many metrics that I've been looking at. So I mean, just looking at Contact 6s, I mean, a lot of them are quite similar. I didn't bother doing every single one with every single headset because it's just so much testing. Also, I lost the will to live because literally I you gotta set up both PCs, do the thing, like run both things, whatever. I did all of that, and then the first time what happened exactly? Oh yeah, I did first set of testing, stopped the recording, I wrote down some of the notes, got to the second test, did the whole testing, came to record and saw the recording light come on when I pressed like stop. And I was like, oh no. And I hadn't pressed record. So I literally had like a full offline customs raid, right? Went back in the second time, redid the whole test, pressed stop, didn't hear the noise or anything. Went from like the one on my gaming PC. The one on my stream PC was fine, but that wasn't the one I was doing the testing with. The one on the gaming PC is the one that's actually doing the hearing. Boom, your C drivers run out of space.
Oh, no.
And because I never updated, because I'm using a really old version of I think I'm using Streamlabs on my gaming PC because it's just like I never record on there anymore because it's all on my stream PC. I was recording in MP4, so the file was unusable because it didn't manage to finish, right? Because I hadn't changed it over to MKV. So I was sat here just like, hell yeah, I've got to record it for the third time. Hell yeah, this is great. So basically, I spent a full hour recording like 18 minutes of audio. So at that point I was just like, screw the other headsets, I don't care. And we've got we've got the running ones all like granular and detailed. So I was like, for slow walk, crouch, slow crouch, I'm gonna do Contact 6s, and I actually chose M32s as my comparison because you can buy them straight away, and they seem to be the best of the
shittier ones,
the cheap budget So I was like, well, that rather than just like looking at the crap ones, like what's the point? I'll use the ones that I think are like the better ones of the ones that are cheap and new. So I did that instead. And so yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So Contact 6 it's like 71 for running. I mean, you can only barely hear it, right? Walking at 64, slow walking at 34, crouching at 21, slow crouching at 12. So everything's boosted. It's like 50%. But the balance between them is not too bad. I still think walking maybe is a little loud.
Yeah.
Like normal walk compared to run, still a little loud, but it doesn't matter too much. Slow walk is from 64 to 34, it's like half for slow walking, which is fine. Crouching a bit shorter. Slow crouching is like even shorter, but inside 10 meters you will hear them. So that was that's the usual stuff. So I'm gonna publish those. But then I started doing all these other ones. I tried to do some ambient testing outside, like how ambient, like how much is the cancellation. But dude, it's hard. Like the wind comes and goes, so it's really difficult to get a judge. Like there's no baseline. It's like really annoying. And I don't really know how to do that outside. Like the only way you could do it is like maybe switching it on and off between no headset and then each headset, and then taking the relative difference. But it's all logarithmic. Right? Audio is weird. Right? It's all logarithmic. So like actually getting a sense of actually what that means, really tough. So so I did the ambient indoors instead. So I just did it underground, indoors, in like customs, because there's no other weird sounds. There's no creaking of the crane or birds chirping or any of that annoying stuff like you get on customs outside, and that's much more consistent. It's a different sound profile, unfortunately. So it doesn't fully tell you everything you need to know. But on that anyway, on my system, the range from there is minus 59 decibels, which is it's very quiet.
Yeah.
With the worst one being, that was Comtech 6s. There was a couple of them. That one, the racks. Those were minus 59. Most of the others were 57 or 56. So that's like Comtech 5s, 4s, Safari Land Liberators, Tech Sports. What else? 56. I think that's just those actually. And then there's like the sort of lower end section, which is Sword-In, Comtech 2, M32 Razors. It's like 54, 55-ish. And then like standout, like terrible is the GSSH at minus 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, the GSSH they're like, to be clear, they're louder than having no headset. The ambient audio is louder than with no headset at all, which is interesting. However, that's not important on its own, right? Because it depends what the other sounds are like. So I did some other tests too. I'll wrap this up because there's all going to be in the video. But I basically ended up doing like 50 meter suppressed shot, 90 meter suppressed shot with all of them, and had a look at them, and then did like myself walking and what that sounds like. And then I started like taking like spectral analysis of like different sounds and stuff. Like I've like delved right into the hole. I've gone completely insane. And I could spend 5 full days like analyzing all this stuff. But basically, I'm just going to try and like get some quick takes and see what's going on. One of the parts that sort of led me to this weird conclusion is that the volume doesn't even matter half of the time, right? Because of the way the human brain works. So, for example, you can hear an ADS sound that is 10 decibels lower than the background because it's in a different frequency, and because our brains can separate out sounds. The fact that the background is at minus 50 decibels, but the ADS sound is minus 60. Well, our brain doesn't care because it's a different sound and it can hear it anyway.
Yeah.
So it sort of doesn't matter. But it's quite interesting. Like I could sort of see why people are using. Like, 'cause a lot of people are saying they're using GSSHs, and I did some little testing just with looking at the ambient, looking at walking around, trying to isolate some of the actual footstep crunch sound and how loud that is versus what just the ambient is without it, and looking at like the spectrum between them. And it's weird. Like when you look at the GSSHs, it's like there is a strong argument to say that it's just louder by like 9 decibels.
Yeah.
So if you're maxed out on your volume, like I am, I'm 100%. Well, the GSSH you're probably going to hear more footsteps because the footstep sound is just louder. The background sounds louder, but so is the footsteps. And I've compared them with the Comtech 6s, and I'm like, man, like once I boost the Comtech 6s by like 8 decibels or something, like I can't tell which headset's which anymore, which is really interesting. So I don't know. I think there is something to be said for certain other sounds and things like that, but like some of the shots, for example, aren't necessarily as stark between the GSSH and the Comtech 6s. Like, a 90 meter shot is only 1 decibel louder with the GSSH than it is with the Comtech 6. So you'll hear it slightly more easily. But ultimately, I'm not sure if it really matters that much anymore. I mean, you got your distances still, which are different, and then you've got some different sort of background audio versus what the actual sound is. But yeah, it's hard to analyze. Actually, it's hard to analyze. I'm still sort of like going through it and trying to come to some conclusions and some sensible stuff. but it's it's not that straightforward. It's not that straightforward. So
Yeah, I've always
I'll
suspected that they were just like, I don't know if they had like a, like a very harsh compressor and then I like boosted the gain on it, like to make up the. Because yeah, for me, it's like the problem with the GSH just was like, yeah, they're loud, but it's like it's almost like a harsh, sharp, not really sharp, but just like a harsh type of loudness. Like your own footsteps was like kind of deafening because they were so loud and like harsh. Which I don't know if that's like I mean, it probably is a bit of a frequency thing as well because it does sort of like have that. I mean, it's been a long time since I used the GSHs to be fair, so I don't know if they still sound how I'm remembering them. But yeah, it was like borderline painful in my ears. So, which is like probably
yeah.
like a combination of volume and frequency. But that is.
I'm quite interested to see. Like, I've got one last little thing that I want to see, which is if I just take the spectrum of one of the gunshots, like where does the frequency land for that? Like, where's the delta on the frequencies? Because you can look at it, you can kind of look at the gap between and say, you know, or like with the footstep one, say, okay, what does the footstep look like?
Mm-hmm.
Because your own footstep overlaps with someone else's footstep audio. It's the same sound, but yours is really loud, and because they overlap, then that's kind of what makes the difference between being able to hear it with one headset or the other. Is then the background sort of gets in the way, I guess, where it like muddies it a little bit. It's just it's tricky. It's difficult. I wonder where the shot sound sits on the spectrum, that you might not be able to hear it because of your own walking.
But
yeah, it's tough.
Counterpoint, if you were like standing still, because you would be more easily trained to tune out like the ambient noise, because the ambient's only going up by like what 5 decibels or so, and like the bass is like what, like the starting point's like 50 or I guess like 55. So like that's a lot easier to tune out than like your footsteps being at like 10 bass, and then you put on the GS8s, they're like minus 5 decibels. It's like they're peaking. Like it feels like they're peaking actually. So and it almost like drowns out the other sounds is what it feels. Is how it feels like in my experience at least. But if you're standing still, might be something to gain there, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, possibly. It's hard to know. It's hard to know, really. I mean, yeah, the GSSH. If I'm like going back and forth between the Contact 6 and the GSSH, just like looking at the screenshots that I had of these spectrums. The GSSH does favor the high end. You get a lot more high end, which sort of like that sort of quantifies the theory that you were talking about.
What like
the band is wider on the GSSH?
What's like hertz wise? Are we talking like 7K ish?
Like 7K plus, yeah.
Yeah, see, like that 7 to 10K, I find it's those really like S's and sh sounds. So like,
yeah,
it can get really harsh, especially in like human.
I mean, it's interesting.
Speech.
Like, yeah, like looking even at Contact 6 is above about. I don't even know where that's going to sit. Actually, probably 15. I mean, yeah, above 16K, there's like nothing at all. It cuts off at like 15.5 or something. Whereas GSSH actually has stuff in that range still.
Oh wow.
Sort of a sliding scale from 7K. It's like quite a lot more in that range. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that definitely affects the profile. But yeah, it's hard to analyze. It's also just like little things like you're walking and your steps are noisy.
Yes.
But yet you can still recognize someone else's step at 40 meters or whatever when it's off, when it's like not in line with your own.
Yeah, that's true.
Step.
That's true.
So if you're like, and you hear off to the side, you're like, oh, that's someone else, right? Because the human brain's so good at hearing that kind of thing. It's like something off tempo that's not you, even though it's way lower volume, comes between the steps that you would expect. It's weird. So trying to understand this just numerically is actually quite hard because once the numbers and the sound waves go into the squishy, all sorts of weird stuff happens.
I love that.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Anyway, so yeah, well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try and compile some sensible stuff out of this without taking too long. Anyway, the big thing the big thing that we now need to talk about is this event. So there's a new event. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's sort of preamble to this. People going like, "Oh, is this going to be an event? It's going to be an event." I'm not sure yet. We don't really know. Nikita posted a letter. That was the first one that came through. A letter that came out yesterday, and it was like a front of a newspaper. It says, "Translation: Tarkov news, hot news. Renovation of the resort. Knossos, Knossos, which is turning out to be important. Shared they bought apart shares of the Shoreline Resort." Axel said, "P.S. We are getting the Shoreline event, aka the big February big event." So Nikita did say at one point previously that there was going to be a big event in February. I actually couldn't find it. It was on a Tarkov TV that I think I didn't record, or I've got it saved somewhere random, so I couldn't end up finding that. But he did say that there's going to be a big event. Now, basically, he said there would be at some point. So then there was a shorter video as well with, basically Yusek and a bear fighting over something in slow motion. There's like bullet casings falling on the floor. And there's like a little video of a door. And then they announced this like full video which came through on the BSG main channel. And that one is the actual announcement of the event. It's called The Labyrinth with I don't know what character is that. It's upside down V. I'm actually not sure which one that is. It's a capital. It's some capital Greek symbol. I can't remember which one it is though. And that's got at the beginning. It's got the door. It's got the letters that people were talking about before. And then the zoom in on the door itself. It's got these letters KN Omega on the door with a labyrinth maze underneath. Then we've got the two guys fighting like we saw before. There's some lab stuff, some Terror Group Labs type things after a little graphic of somebody using the Labyrinth card that we saw, maybe a month ago from Nikita. And then there's like, angry Tagilla man who looks like a Minotaur. Usek's turning up at the door and, swiping the keypad and going in. And then that's the end of the video. So it's pretty interesting. So that's the beginning of the event. And with that, there's also a couple of so there's some quests in the main game. There's a couple of quests in Arena as well. There's like some ones added for ref. And all of this begins with this quest here. What's this one called? So it's called Shady Contractor. That you get from Mechanic. So it says, hey, you may be aware that Terror Group's aggressive expansion in Tarkov has raised a few questions. Back then, they were buying up properties and companies left and right in the Norvinsk region. Some of the deals were clearly shady in nature. Terror Group has a particularly interesting contractor, a company called Knossos. Officially, they build amusement parks, playgrounds, and other family entertainment venues. But tell me, what possible connections can Terror Group scientific research and playgrounds have? That's exactly why it smells fishy to me. Knossos could be hiding the Terror Group documents or equipment. Yet to know for certain, we'll have to examine their facilities. So you have to check out some vehicles. So the first one, you have to go. I haven't done any of these yet, just for full clarity, because I haven't had a chance to. Basically, the patch was delayed. I was going to go live with it, and then they released it at 5 p.m. my time instead. So I actually ended up not being able to play it, which is a shame. I think you have to be level 21 to start the quest. But you got to go and find the Knossos LLC senior manager's car, get the diary, and go back to Mechanic. You then get Needle in a Haystack. You have to go and investigate a whole bunch of different places. Courtyard Park by Terror Group HQ on Ground Zero, the Cart Track on Interchange, Children's Playground on Interchange, another one on Concordia, on Streets, the Coastside Construction Site on Shoreline, and then another playground on Shoreline as well. If you do that, you get Hidden Layer. This one, you have to locate a good lead inside Knossos LLC. You have to find the Knossos LLC facility key, which is a Shoreline key, as I understand it. And the LLC facility locked door is in the basement of Shoreline by the pool. I think it's on the West Wing basement.
Yes.
And then you get this after 30 minutes of Hidden Layer. You then, after you finish it for 30 minutes, you get this sensory analysis thing. And you have to get a bottle of moonshine, go to Woods, and hand it to the BTR driver, apparently. And then there's like another one called Hot Zone. I'm not sure because it seems to sort of branch at this point, and I'm not really sure exactly what happens. There's one called Hot Zone, which just seems absolutely insane, which is you have to stash 12 Zulu nylon rigs at the new gas station on Customs and 12 monoclete ballistic plates on the roof of the repair workshop in reserve. But like everyone's going to be going there, which is crazy. So that's kind of insane. And what you get for that one is you get 3 Labyrinth access cards and the purchase of the Labyrinth access card at Ragman level 1. So the Labyrinth access card is the one with the the double-bladed axe thing that we saw. We saw it in the trailer. And when you use the key for the Nostos LSL facility key room, in there is the door with the labyrinth on it with the KN Omega, and that's the door that you then need to use this key on. Apparently, you can get it a different way through Arena. I think there's a quest through Arena, or at least I don't know whether you can unlock. I don't know whether it unlocks a barter or something, or whether you just get some Labyrinth access cards directly from it. But you can do some stuff in Arena too, I believe. There was one you had to do like a million different things, capture points on team fight and blast gang and plant bombs and all this annoying stuff. There was another one which is kill players under the influence of various different stims, which is a lot easier because you just do that in Last Hero. So I'm gonna have to investigate that, see whether that's worth doing or not, because I'm not going to do the one with team fight and stuff. I just can't be bothered. But the Last Hero one I don't mind. Like 60 kills using stims is really not that hard in Last Hero. So I may end up doing that. But yeah, it seems like once you get down into the labyrinth underneath Shoreline Resort using this Labyrinth card, it seems like there's, from what people have said so far and what we've gathered, is that there's like 6 PMC slots, so other people could be in there. But obviously you can't get to the labyrinth any other way than going down underneath Shoreline. So it's basically a transit event. You have to go to Shoreline, transit into the place, and I believe other people can like turn up partway through. I don't think everybody spawns straight away. I think people can like get invaded, and there's like an alarm or something. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the deal is, just from reading everybody's like comments and whatnot. So Rima's started to put together a map for this already, which does seem kind of crazy. And the whole place is basically full of traps. from what I've seen, which is insane. I think one of the first people to get in there was Train. I think she was one of the first streamers to get into the labyrinth, I believe. And she basically like wanders in and then gets exploded from seemingly nowhere. But when you go back in the in the video or whatever, on the roof, it's like 4 sets of like shorty double barrel shotguns all on strings.
Oh my!
So you walk through and you just get like shot in the head with buckshot, basically. So you have to be like super careful. And I saw one. Axel was the first person to sort of complete it, I think, so far, and kill Labyrinth Tagilla, who's like the Minotaur. And apparently Killer's down there as well. But he like died loads of different times on a bunch of stuff. So there's like green stuff on the floor, and he was just like, oh, green seems to be okay, walks through it and instantly dies. It's just like, oh, let's like go do it again. But it seems to be when you wander around, there's like keys and things. So I've not seen it, but there's one of these like horror movies where you have to like kind of solve the puzzle to get through. So there's like tons of locked doors all over the place. It's like a whole series of like locked doors. So you have to like find an item that will then get you through the next bit, so you can avoid the traps using the various keys and things. So it'll be like a key in a bucket. That's the one I saw on Axel's one. There's a key in a bucket. You like pick it up and then you like open a door with the thing, and then it allows you to get to the next part without getting killed by whatever traps in that bit. So you have to be like super careful, like look around, make sure you're not going to like die on something, then find the item, get through to the next section. That sort of deal. So it's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, if not quite hard. It does seem pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, I've only seen clips, just trying to gather information for working out, what's going on, and I've not yet been in or like seen any real sort of videos of people doing it from start to finish or anything like that. So I'm still a little muddled on exactly what's going on. But lots of people are going in there. There's some cool stuff. There's like seems to be like a room where the nuke, or there's at least plans for a nuke, or there's a part like unfinished missile or something in there. And so Nice Guy and his people are going completely mental. The Sons of Suna just unhinged right now. It's interesting. It's certainly interesting. Yeah. So I don't know about the invasions thing. I think, so from what I heard, like you can tell when somebody else joins, I believe. It's sort of a shame that other people could be in there in some ways. Like, it'd be kind of cool if it was just sort of a PvE experience in some ways, but like, no, I get it. I get it. It depends on how hard it is to get there. Because if you look on the flea market now and look for Labyrinth, there's actually 3 barters for the keys. There's a barter at Ragman, there's a purchase at Therapist for 268k, and then there's a 41 GP coin ref barter. So I guess if you do the arena one of the arena quests, you probably get access to the barter. If you do the main quest line, you probably get access to the Therapist one. The Ragman one, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know where that comes from, but no, it's interesting. There's another one that's just popped up as well called the Labyrinth research notes that are 400k each. And they've got, it's like a pack of like documents. It says Labyrinth constructions and logistics. The documents are encrypted, but appears to contain research notes for some tech or weapon. The record's name item 1156. For what it's worth. So yeah, that is pretty much all I've managed to glean so far from all the information out online. I'm going to give it a go myself, obviously, at some point.
Mhm.
I don't know how long it's on for. They said there'll be, I think Lou was talking about it at one stage, being like, oh, we have time to do all this stuff. And he got replied to by one of the BSG guys being like, you'll have time, don't worry, you'll have time. But it's like, it seems very cool. It's like a transit-only location. You can't spawn there. I quite like that. You got, Minotaur to Gilla. It's got like the big Labyrinth, like double hammery thing. It's pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah, it reminds me of Resident Evil S, particularly I think it was 7 Biohazard. I don't know, but the one that's like set in like Tennessee, the United States, with like a bunch of like I don't know, country bumpkins, we'll say. And they're like, yeah, there's like one guy that has like a fixation with like booby traps. So yeah, it sounds really cool. Did you already talk about the like world building / stuff with like Ground
No.
Zero?
No.
I thought that was pretty cool. So apparently within Ground Zero there is a building that I I mean, yeah, I guess it is kind of hard to see, but it does say Labyrinth on the building, like the signage for it. And yeah, I mean, it's got like, anyways, it looks like you could probably see it from, oh god, I don't even know, maybe the police vehicle extract, looking out of bounds. But
Yeah.
I find that
There
very
definitely is a
intriguing.
Labyrinth building. I can't remember exactly. It's not one that I think it's on the map. If you look at like the the in-game guide to the Ground Zero kind of hub or whatever, it's like on there.
Yeah, I like stuff like this though because it doesn't feel, um, you know, like super immersive breaking. You know what I mean? It feels like it's like they had the foresight to do all this. You know what I mean? Like that's just like cool. You know, it's like when you watch a movie and it's like you miss these details and then like later it's revealed. It's like, we told you the whole time. This was all there. You just gotta look for the clues. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, I like stuff like that when it's not stupid. Do you know what I mean? When it's not just like,
Yeah.
oh, the first letter of every sentence spoken at the beginning of every episode
Yeah.
spells the killer, and you're just like, okay, like, all right, sure. Oh yeah, you just have to take the length of the thing and turn that into an alphanumeric thing using this cipher. Like, it was so obvious. It's just like, right, all right, fine. So yeah, when it's like world building stuff, then that's pretty cool. So you got Labyrinth there, and they've been showing these teasers of various things because apparently according to that very bad scab thing, you've got this like KN Omega thing, which supposedly was, it's like Gnosis Labyrinth or something. apparently Knossos is in Crete or whatever. There's like a load of like Greek mythology type stuff going on about, you know, labyrinthine stuff and whatnot. So, you know, it's definitely some cool background there if you're into reading into things too much, which, as is often the case with the Tarkov community.
Have you seen? I mean, probably not, but I'll admit I was a bit distracted when you were going over some of the details of the event because this came up on my feed from Tarkov Basement Guy who BSG retweeted, and it's a clip of a PMC in a labyrinth-like area, and he's like shooting something. There's Stegilia in the background, presumably, and then he goes in a room, and the door shuts closed, and he slow pans to the left, and it's like very dark, and then the light illuminates it, and there's like some type of pan on the ground and a box mounted on a wall with a, I mean, I just don't know how else to say, a phallic like shape attached to it, and then it suddenly starts gyrating forward and out.
Oh, I haven't seen that. No.
I don't know if this is like I don't know Tarkov Basic Sky stuff enough to know if this is like something he whipped up really quick and like, you know, type of like editing software or what have you, or if this is actually in the game. But I kind of love it either way. I mean, I wouldn't put it past BSG to do something like that, but the you know, the whole construction,
Dark Secrets of the Minotaur.
Yeah. The whole construction of this little short 11-second skit, it's very masterfully done.
Yeah, it's very Tarkin.
Yeah.
In some ways, maybe they've got Tarkin on the team. Maybe Tarkin is Tarkov Basement Guy.
Oh my god, plot twist.
Lots twist.
If you spell Tarkov Basement Guy with the Greek alphabet and then translate that back into the Mayan alphabet, then it spells Tarkin, obviously. How'd you miss those details, Giga?
Obviously. Obvious. It's so obvious in hindsight. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's quite a lot. I don't know exactly whether this is going to mean anything in the long term. Whether it's going to be open, like seems to be open for, you know, a period of time. We'll have to see what happens. Whether there's more to it or not. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably like more stuff coming, I would guess. With this, they usually are. They usually like add these things over time. I don't know if there's going to be an achievement or anything. Oh, actually, it's good point. You can usually check now if there's some new achievement.
I mean, surely this seems achievement worthy. I'd be surprised.
It does look like it.
Yeah, I was mentioning to you earlier.
In search of an exit. There you go. So in search of an exit, complete the Labyrinth event task. And Dungeon Master, complete the Labyrinth event task and all side tasks. If you do Dungeon Master, you get the Minotaur's Lair hideout customization.
Ooh.
For your hideout.
You can,
which is kind of cool.
Make your own labyrinth in your hideout. What fun.
Make your own labyrinth. To put other PMC here, invite you when somebody joins your somebody tries to go into your hideout. Oh, I wonder what you've got, and they're just like, welcome to the labyrinth. You will never escape. Kind of deal.
Do you want to play a game? It's like the jigsaw. Good stuff.
Yep. So outside of Labyrinth and various other like patch notes and bits and pieces, there is a new announcement as of like really recently, like 45 minutes ago or something, I think. Oh no, maybe 2 hours now. I saw it today anyway. But we know now about EGS, the Epic Game Store, and Tarkov Arena. It is going to be available on there on the 10th of April. So 10th of April, Arena will then be on Epic Game Store. Interesting that they were talking about Battle Pass for Arena as well in this, because that was on their community update, right? That there's the battle pass was coming in the next one, I think, and it's coming to EGS at the same time. So maybe those two things got something to do with each other. We shall see. I think that's mainly it for like proper game updates. I believe. So anything else I've missed? Anything else that we should be notifying the good people of Tarkov?
I don't think so. I mean, we could dive into the few remaining Nikita stuff that we have, which would be I saw this.
Oh yes,
the AK-50. I thought this was a Scar. When I saw it,
it kind of looks like one.
Yeah, I was just like, why is he tagging the AK guy? And I was like, didn't the AK guy was that whole, you know, interaction between them two about like the AK-50? This looks like a Scar. Anyways, shows you how much I know about weapons. I guess whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the AK-50. It's modeled. It's got animations coming soon to a Tarkov lobby near you.
Yes. For whatever the implication of that is, I do not know. I do not know.
Instead of M61 to the head from Jupiter, it is 50 cal to the head from Mars. I guess that's a little closer. I don't know. I don't know if it should be. I don't know the ballistics coefficient of where's Tower. Tower, make this joke work for me.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What else? There's what is this USEC versus Bear?
Oh, that was just part of that was the one with the teasers. That was part of the main video. Nikita basically like cut up the video and posted it in like 5 different teasers. It was like a picture of the Labyrinth card, a picture of the USEC and Bear shooting, or like a short of the USEC and Bear shooting, a short of the door.
Okay,
but it was all within the broader YouTube video of like the announcement to the event.
Yeah, got to build that hype train up.
Yeah. I'm just like, in the background, I'm trying to like have a look at what the short, like somebody basically said to me, Joe Bishop from my Discord, he said to me like, oh, I think the terminal location might have been, or like the terminal bit might have been expanded on Shoreline, and I was like trying to see if I had any references to the old section, but it sort of looks the same to me. I'm trying to find some old pictures. I don't have any pictures myself. I don't think. I need to go back and have a look. I'm just looking at Tarkov and see if there's any difference. What was that? I've only got a picture of like the tree crossing when that was new. What else have I got? I'll see if there's anyone's got anything online. You know, actually, I probably do have it in some of my old videos, but I'm not gonna be able to dig that out right away. No, anyway, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So the other thing Tarkov related that I've been looking at. I mean, I'm still like slowly plodding along towards Lightkeeper in bits and pieces, but I kind of got fed up of doing that as well, as you might imagine, because it's a lot of lighthouse, a lot of labs, all this other stuff. I managed to get assessment done. I needed to get the SJ9 for assessment part 3. I played a bit of labs, and it was as you might expect, Giga Chad people and very under 200 hours people. And so I think I got into Black Room once, and I think I died. I don't think I extracted from labs when I played the other day, which was a bit annoying after about like 5 or 6 raids, and I was just like, whatever, I can't be bothered with this. I'm not a labs Chad. Oh, I did learn something incredibly embarrassing though, which I don't think we spoke about. I think that was this week. It must have been after we did our cast. I don't think I spoke about this. We didn't talk about the 2 doors into black, did we?
2 doors into black?
Yeah, like the 2, black. So black.
What does that mean?
Black keycard room. So black keycard room on labs.
Yeah.
And you go in. There's that. You swipe the card and you go in, and then there's like the big glass screen.
Right.
And then you go in through that first door and go in.
Oh wait,
there.
You have to swipe for the double doors.
Or so no? You do the outside one. I think is it. I can't remember which way around it is actually. But anyway, so you go in through that side. And I was in that like middle bit.
Okay.
I was fighting like just before you go into the main actual like black area.
Right.
I was like fighting a guy through the door. I killed one guy already, and then somebody else turned up, started VoIPing and stuff, and then they like leapt across, and I was going to fight them at the doorway because I thought I was like, oh, they've got me trapped in here, and then they came around the back and shot me through the other door from behind, and I was like shocked. And it turns out that like up until this point, I literally didn't know that there were 2 doors into black.
Really?
I literally played all this time. And like I don't play labs that often, right? And I'm not a big keycards guy either, because all the Chad guys go around there, and I just sort of scuttle about. And but I literally had no clue. I had no clue that you could get into the other door. I didn't realize that there was the other door on the right hand side, and then there's another like you can swipe the other side. There's another like key swipe for black on that side, and you can also be shot through the glass. It's just like hilarious. I was like, people were just like, how do you not know this? This is like what? And I was like, man, I can't believe that I didn't. I just don't think I've ever gone through there. I've never fought anybody through there again because I don't play it that often. It's like, how many labs raids do I play that I'm actually going to black rooms? Like none, right? It's just like so few and far between. Because like most of the time I spent on labs looking for the special items. That's like most of my labs experience within the last 2 years. It's all looking for GPSA and whatever it's called, current converters and whatever. And like the black room's not a spawn for those. So I've never really been in black. It's just not a place I normally go. And up until now, the keycards are normally really expensive. I usually only buy them at the end of the wipe. Like now they're a bit better because they're 10 use or whatever. But yeah, it's just really funny. Like went in offline even to go and have a look and just be like, oh my god, there's another door. Like I got shot through the back of the head by the guy just like literally went from one door to the other and killed me. And I was like, okay, we learn something new every day. You know, you can have how many thousand hours in the game, but unless you're playing that particular bit, you still get caught out by like random stuff like that. So I was like, fair enough. But anyway, I left it for a bit. We did some like 0 to hero, like stay in raid as long as you can things. And by the time I got back to it the next time, I was like, oh, I guess maybe we'll go and see if we can find it's turned up in the cultist circle. Great. And we just had to kill raiders. So yeah, it's kind of like along the path for doing Lightkeeper. But in the meanwhile, I've been like fiddling around with some graphic stuff, and I think I've had some renewed interest in this because of DLSS getting updated to DLSS 4, you know, the transformer model going up to preset K, which is now in the game. So now you can like play with the different transformer models and see which one you like, which one you don't like. And it reminded me of one of the old style like graphic boosting methods, I guess, which was using DLDSR. And I think we probably have talked about DLDSR in the past, but I never got it to work properly. Like Tipple Bobber talked about it like years ago, but I never really got it to work because various reasons. It was like so the reason why you might want to do this, right? Let's just go right from the beginning. So the minute I run DLSS, and the reason I use DLSS is because DLSS takes over the anti-aliasing. It deals with upscaling. You know, DLSS in its DLSS normally, as it's what it is designed for, really, as we know, is it renders your game in a lower res and then upscales it using AI. But as part of that process, it also has like a DLAA, the deep learning anti-aliasing. It's got anti-aliasing kind of built into it. So when you've got DLSS on, the inbuilt or the normal sort of traditional anti-aliasings in Tarkov and in any game turn off because DLSS takes over. So that means the issue with this is that Tarkov's got awful anti-aliasing, right? It's like basically FX, it's like non-FXAA or TAA. And people really hate TAA, as we've spoken about previously. So a lot of people, including myself, use DLSS as a way of avoiding TAA. But then you've got to take nothing's perfect. You've got to then take the downside that comes with DLSS. So there is some ghosting. But you do get, dramatically reduced GPU performance, sort of processing power, whatever, right? Because you're rendering it in a lower res. Doesn't really do much if you're CPU bottleneck though, which comes on to the important point of, well, most of the time in Tarkov we're CPU bottlenecked. This is unlike most other games. Most other games benefit very heavily from using DLSS from a FPS perspective, but Tarkov often doesn't. It does in some respects on certain maps. Those ones that come to mind are Labs and Factory. Those ones are the least CPU bottleneck maps. Those are the ones that run at the highest frame rates and can be affected by GPU because the graphics card's got, it's not being like throttled by the CPU. Normally on a map like Streets, which is the one that's the most affected by CPU, the graphics card's basically waiting around for the CPU to do all the stuff it's got to do. You know, all the various rendering bits, AI, all this other stuff. And so there's loads and loads of headroom there. So on maps like Factory and Labs, yeah, you might be more GPU bottleneck than CPU, or like if you crank the stuff up too much on the GPU side, you might end up like hitting that up to 100. So because Tarkov's a unique game and a CPU bottleneck most of the time, you can actually get away with doing all sorts of GPU stuff that you can't in normal games, and DLSS isn't as important, right? Yes, it gets rid of the anti-aliasing issue, it removes TAA and puts anti-aliasing on, but it means that your GPU sat there at like 30% usage most of the time, especially if you've got a decent GPU. Mine's decent, 4070 Ti Super, the new one that I bought a while back, which has got good VRAM and stuff, but like it hardly gets utilized. So that then brings you to one of the other like Nvidia techs, which is DLDSR, which is an advancement of the original DSR, which was what was DSR? Dynamic Super Resolution, I think it is. And so the original version of that was render the game in higher than your native res and crush it down. Then they added the DL bit, so it's deep learning again. That's the same thing as on DLSS. So DLSS is deep learning super sampling. This one's deep learning dynamic. God, whatever it was, DSR super resolution. That's the one. So the deep learning part is then using the AI bits, all the new AI stuff to make it work. So rendering the big screen and then using AI to then crush it down, which ends up with better quality. It's less sort of like manually coded stuff like anti-aliasing is, and again, it's using one of these AI. I hate calling it AI, machine learning algorithms to do it in a more robust way using training data rather than with like rules and heuristics that come through from regular AI. Regular anti-aliasing. So the issue with this is that obviously because you're now rendering in a much bigger res, that increases the GPU. Well, the amount of work the GPU's got to do. So it uses a lot more of your GPU. But in Tarkov, oftentimes this is fine because we've got GPU headroom in abundance. So on a map like Streets, you can render this stuff in like 4K, crush it back down onto 1440p, for example, and it won't affect your frames at all most of the time because it doesn't really affect CPU. All this stuff's running on the tensor cores on the GPU anyway, and you had 30% headroom. So it doesn't really matter. And so this has been a solution that's kind of been bandied around a lot, and I think depending on the system you've got, it's got more or less use to it. But one of the beautiful things about it is because if you render the game in a very high resolution, then you have so much more information for the crush down algorithms to work with. It makes stuff like fences, power lines, any like thin detail, it puts them into so much better detail than it was before. But there are issues with DLDSR, which is it's not as flexible as DLSS. DLSS you can just turn on and that's about it. Whereas DLDSR is a bit annoying because you're actually rendering the screen in a different res. If you just want to do it without having to mess with anything, it needs to be done in full screen, exclusive full screen. Otherwise it doesn't work because it has to have like exactly the right framing, right? It's like blowing it up and then crushing it back down again, which is the reason why I didn't do it for ages, because it has a tendency to when you turn it on anyway, because you turn it on in the Nvidia control panel, there's like these DLDSR higher resolutions that you tick on. There's one which is like 1.78 and there's another one which is like 2.25 or something. When you tick them on and press OK in the first place, the whole computer goes like it's like all the screens flash and like it's crazy. And that would happen to me every time I alt tabbed. And I'm alt tabbing all the time while I'm streaming to like bring something on or show a Twitter or whatever, right? And I was just like, well, I can't just be locked in, so like I'm not going to do it. So the way around that, which I've been told about before, but I just never bothered with it, is that you there was some. I think that the drivers got a lot better as well because I was having issues even just getting it to show up at one point, and so I was just like, oh, screw this, I just can't be bothered. Whereas when I looked into it the other day, you can set your desktop resolution to one of these DLDSR reses. Yeah. So you can. So my desktop right now, I'll tell you. Let me open this up and I'll tell you. My desktop right now. So I've got a 1440p monitor. My standard res would be 2560 by 1440, which is what I was understood to be 4040p. I'm currently running in 3840 by 2160. Way higher. That's the 2.25 times DL render rating. And then Windows automatically understands this these days and pushes everything to 150%, so all the icons get bigger and stuff. So you're not just like,
Yeah,
because
good
like
God.
usually on Windows everything gets really tiny. Like my mouse is really tiny now. Like my
Mhm.
mouse cursor is like really tiny, but everything else is sort of fine. Text is a bit weird in some places, but it doesn't actually matter that much. I actually quite like it. Like
Oh,
usually
really?
things for me, usually things are a little bit too big. So I actually quite like it. I don't mind. But that means that when you're in Tarkov and you set one of these resolutions, these like super resolutions as
Mhm.
your res, you can put it in borderless window because you're running that
Yes.
same res on your desktop. So now we've avoided TAA. We've got this super resolution thing going on without any of the weird, alt tabbing situation. I can
Mhm.
stream with it because if you're running it all messes up if you're on a single PC because it sees the super resolution as the actual res when you're using it as when you're capturing it on the same machine. Like it's all a mess, right? But if you're using a capture card, it just sees it as another monitor, so it sees the actual output, which is in 1440p. So my 1440p capture card takes the monitor because it's just cloned from my base monitor. It doesn't know any of the shenanigans that are going on. It just sees the 1440p output, and so it just takes that into the capture card as if it was me just playing normally. And we've basically then got these two techs working together. We've got DLSS, which is rendering slightly smaller than the DSR resolution, and then all the way up to the DSR res, and then it's crushing it back down again to 4040p. It's a bit of a long-winded route, right, to go through all of it, like why you'd want to do it in this way, but it looks really good. It looks really good. It looks really, really good. And the best part about it is that unlike something like FrameGen, which is like
Mhm.
it only works when you don't need it, as we've talked about in the past, right? If you have 100 plus
Yeah.
FPS, FrameGen will get you to 180 FPS. It's like, great. I didn't really need it because I had 100 FPS anyway. If you've got 30 FPS, yeah, FrameGen will take you to 48, but the input lag will be insane and the whole game will feel awful. It's like a single player game doesn't really matter too much, but if you're playing Tarkov or whatever, you feel the mouse lag if you're playing FPS. It's horrible. Some people don't care. I really care. It doesn't feel good to me. Whereas this is beautiful because on streets, I'm like CPU bottlenecked really hard, even though I've got a 5800 X3D. It literally makes no difference to my frames at all on streets having DLDSR on. I get way better graphic fidelity for zero performance hit. The only thing that changes is my GPU goes from like 20 or 30% to like 70% usage. And it's uses a bit more power. On some other maps, so on labs, I can see the difference. If I put the DLDSR to its absolute maximum, I run labs at 100 FPS. Whereas if I'm running in native, it's over 120. I don't know exactly where because I actually have my frames capped at 120 anyway for like other content creation and capture reasons, and to stop my GPU from just like exploding if I'm in a place that's like 300 FPS because I don't need that 120. Like I really don't care, so I have it capped like that anyway just to stop my GPU from going to like 90 degrees. But yeah, so I can see it, but like 100 FPS on labs again, I can't tell. It doesn't matter to me, so it's fine. So it basically like reduces my FPS in places where I don't need the extra FPS because it GPU bottlenecks me earlier versus normal. But in places where I was CPU bottlenecked anyway, I get better graphic fidelity for free. So it seems like a kind of win-win for people who are CPU bottlenecked, which is most people. I mean, obviously you got to test it out, see what you think. You do need to do the weird thing with your monitor, but I kind of got used to it already, and it doesn't really matter. If you do have issues with it, one of the best parts about having your desktop in the funny res and at the highest res you can is that you can just like, if you're playing, I don't know, labs and you do want it at some stupid FPS, you can just go in and just change your screen resolution. And because you're in borderless anyway, you just change the res and press save. That's it. There's no flickering, no weirdness. You just go, oh, yep, click, click, bam, and you're in native again. Because the screen thinks that you're rendering smaller and it's just fitting borderless window to this like humongous screen that's being generated by the GPU. So fitting that inside the screen, it doesn't matter. It's only when it's bigger than your actual monitor that it has issues in the driver. So so it's interesting. It's interesting. My office is definitely hotter than it was before I started doing this because my GPU is running at a higher rate the whole time. But it's certainly interesting. So definitely give that a try if you're your GPU bottlenecked, which basically means your GPU runs not at 100%. A lot of people think that they're not CPU bottlenecked because their CPU says, 40% or something in Tarkov. But if you actually click, so if you click on the CPU bit, and then you right click, and this is in Task Manager, so not even anything complicated. If you right click and do change graph to logical processors, you'll see that the balance of what's actually running on what which thread is like very different. So mine, for some reason, the third core CPU 2, because it starts at 0, CPU 0, CPU 1, CPU 2, etc., etc. CPU 2 for me is always the one that's like hitting the cap. So that's like 97%, 95%, whatever, and that's like bottlenecking me. And half the other cores are like 30, 50, whatever. They're all over the place. So the average is like 40% utilization. And you look at it and you go 40% on the CPU and 40% on the GPU. What's going on? BSG, you must suck at programming, right? But it's like it's to do with multi-threading and the fact that you are CPU bottlenecked. Or even if it's not necessarily 100%, right? Like the thing that to understand is that GPUs. I mean, there's probably esoteric things like, maybe like if there's a memory bottleneck or something. I'm sure those cases do appear from time to time, but predominantly in 99% of cases, it's going to be CPU or GPU. The GPU is much simpler. GPUs are so much simpler than CPUs. So if the GPU is less than 100%, you can be pretty sure it's a CPU problem, because CPU's got it's got all these freaking cores. It's doing like all these different types of tasks. Like they're super generalistic CPUs, right? Whereas the GPU is just like a number crunching machine. It does basically one type of operation. It like calculates triangles. That's it. It's all it does. Like everything to do with GPUs. All the algorithms that run on there just like run on, they're very basic algorithms that do very basic things using the computational power of the GPU, which it turns out is like general enough. If you're solving the same thing, you can run Bitcoin mechanics on it, blockchain stuff on it. You can do AI stuff, number crunching, whatever. But the CPU can do so much more stuff. So I mean that's the thing about the GPU. Like if you've even looked into it ever at some point, you can't even stop the GPU from going over a certain utilization. That's just not even how they work, right? They run as fast as they physically can, given the program or the resources that they're using or being told to use. You can cap a frame rate, but you can't even cap the GPU's like utilization. It's just they're not built that way. You just can't even do it, right? They'll just run as fast as they can. So if your GPU's at 30%, you're definitely CPU bottlenecked. So it's like, so it's worth having a tinker with this. Any comments before I continue?
Just that you probably don't want your CPU at 100% either, because that's really gonna slow things down. Like that's the one difference, because it is so generalistic, right? Like if your CPU is at 100%, it's not good. You need to upgrade your CPU there. I guess were you gonna talk about DLSS and
yes,
DLAA? Okay.
Yes, but you could talk about that if you want.
I mean, I was just gonna say I saw Clementine's video where I saw.
I haven't actually watched it yet, so yes, you go for it.
Oh, perfect. I think in like the thumbnail was like DLAA, and I was like, and Tarkov finally, and I clicked on it, watched it, and it wasn't like super clear as to if you could get. Basically, you can get pseudo DLAA now with the Nvidia Inspector app, which is like a sort of official. I think it's made by like an Nvidia developer, but it's on it's on like a GitHub repository. So you gotta like go to get it from there, And it's like it's not the most user friendly thing, but if it's gotten better. The interesting thing is it was actually updated recently when they rolled out like DLSS 4 and the Nvidia app. The developer for it, the Nvidia Profile Inspector app, he went and pushed some updates because there was already like 3 different forks of this already. Like basically other people took the code because it was open source and was like, well, if they're not going to keep if they're not going to update it, we'll just make our own updates, because there was like certain quality of life stuff like a search function and whatnot. So anyways, yeah, with the Nvidia Profile Inspector, you can change the default settings for DLSS and Tarkov to a value of your choosing. By default, I think quality, by default, it just selects quality and it sets that to 66%, which is like, default stock Nvidia settings. Like that's how Nvidia does their thing. The one thing that we don't have access to is ultra quality, which is 75%, which I feel like would be a great thing for BSG to like add, but nevertheless, you can set it to 99%. which is not a perfect resolution, but it gets you 99% of the way there to DLAA. And yeah, I mean, I haven't used DLAA in Tarkov, but I've used it in other titles, and like, yeah, it's just like, and especially with the new Transformer model, right? This new one, or is it CNN? I always get confused now. Or CDN,
I don't know if that
whatever.
actually. I don't know if that has anything to do with the DLA bit. It must do. I don't actually know. Like, does the transformer model affect everything? Does it affect like the way that they've done the anti-aliasing section as well as like the upscaling part, or is it all part of the same model? Like, I guess it's all part of the same model. I don't
Yeah,
actually know.
yeah, I
So
would think so.
transformer K would make DLA even better than like D was or whatever it was that we were running before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just looks like so sharp, so crisp, so pristine. Like, it just looks so good. So I'm very interested in how that looks.
Yeah, because I think so. Because people were talking yesterday on my stream, not yesterday, sorry, the day before, because I couldn't stream yesterday because the game was down all day. But people were talking on my stream the day before when I was messing around with DLDSR. Like, okay, well, what's technically like the highest quality that you could get in theory? And the highest quality in theory is bypassing TAA because people don't like it, then using DLSS, and then using DLDSR in the highest res. But with this new one, with this new thing, if you can then go in, and I hope this comes to because I haven't done it yet. You have to use I don't know. I'm a little nervous, even though I'm like 99% sure that this is fine, because this is done at the driver level, right? This is not anything to do with Tarkov. You're not fiddling around with like Tarkov's game files or anything like that. Like, you're changing stuff in Nvidia control panel and like Nvidia's settings, so that when Tarkov says, "Oh, I'm using DLSS quality," that then flows down to the driver, and the GPU says, "Okay, I'm upscaling from 66% up to the res of the screen," right? And instead of that, you're overriding that, and it says, "Oh, I'm now rendering at 95% and then upscaling that to the screen, or 98% or whatever it is." So I'm pretty sure it's fine. I don't even think like the Tarkov game could tell maybe that you've even done that, unless like BattleEye goes and looks specifically within the Nvidia like settings to see whether that's done or not. But theoretically, then that would be the highest fidelity that you could ever get, would be using DLDSR and DLAA at the same time, because then effectively you're rendering in like 2.25 times the res as native, and then crushing that back down onto your screen. That would theoretically give the best result. One of the main reasons why I'm using, or people are using DLDSR in the first place, is to sort of get around the fact that you have to use DLSS and not DLAA, because DLAA isn't support. DLAA is supported nowhere near as widely as DLSS, even though it is basically just a slider. Rather than having this like quality balanced, performance yada 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 with the different percentages, like you could in theory just have a slider. I think does Greyzone War have a slider? I think it actually might. I think Greyzone might actually have a slider. So rather than having like DLSS, I mean, I think there might be presets, and as you click through, I think this is how it works. When you click through the presets, you can see the slider move, but I think you can just slide the slider. Because they're running the same algorithm. It's just got a different parameter beginning. So if in Tarkov we had the ability to do all the usual ones, plus we also have DLAA as well, then that'd be great. And like, you're running DLAA, you then probably don't need to run DLDSR, or you might not want to, because that probably is quite a lot of GPU that you're using there. Probably that might even become a problem for me. Running at some stupid res. I'd have to run the game in 3840 by 2160 as native.
Yeah,
because like DLSS quality is doing 66% of that first to upscale to the DLDSR res, which is then downscaling again back down to the monitor's res. So you probably want to bypass, like, it's much easier just to have DLAA rather than fiddling around with this
that's
upscale
kind of
and
how I
downscale
feel.
stuff.
Yeah, but the DLDSR is cool for games that support it, but it's I don't know. It's just I don't know. I wish if it was, because you could do DSR without any support from any game. And like, that's a nice option, but like, it's not very reasonable, because like, you have to render the game in like 4K, right? And then downscale it to your thing, which DLSS are kind of can cut a little bit of that cost, but like it's still expensive and it's finicky because it's it has to be supported via game developer. It's not like can't just like turn that on. I mean, I guess you can for your desktop experience, but that's not really the the point, I guess.
I know there's a bunch of people talking about this stuff right now. There's loads of people testing things because, there's like 2 days or something of people testing it before Clem's video. More people are seeing that. There was another video from somebody else. It was very short, which just showed you how to do it. And there was something like, the problem with all these, it's just like, if you've got the old version of the Nvidia app, it doesn't work. You have to uninstall that and then do the stuff and then reinstall it. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to have to do that. But anyway, One Shot Boney in chat was basically saying that they actually have tried it. So he said, like, I did the DLAA workaround showcased in Clem's video. It provides a much clearer experience, but the performance here was too substantial for my liking. I usually play at 1.78 times 1440p in DSR, and honestly average between 115 and 130 FPS. In DLAA, I never got over 80 to 90. I've gone back to DSR from the control panel. It definitely made a huge visual upgrade. I prefer getting the frames, though. Apparently, it's extremely sharp.
Yeah.
It looks really, really nice. But that's the thing. It's what kind of frame rate you're willing to tolerate, and it also depends on what frame rate you're used to right now. And again, it depends on what CPU bottleneck you are. If you're like extremely CPU bottlenecked, it might not make any difference.
Yeah.
If you've got a balanced system, it probably will hit your frames on some maps and not others. If you've got a very powerful CPU, then it might affect your frames on every map. So I don't know. It's definitely worth keeping an eye out for, though, because some of these things have played Tarkov for ages, like blurriness, flickery, like shadows, like distance, just like shimmering in the distance, whatever. And these technologies are like slowly getting rid of it.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think I would be
they're getting rid of it, and it looks nice.
Very interested in seeing what a 1080p upscale to 1440p via DLSS will look like, because we don't have that option currently. We got like 66%, which is, I don't even know.
Unlike DLAA, like all this better version. Is that kind of what you mean? Using like 95%, DLSS.
No, what I mean is like,
well, just FSS. Oh my god, too many acronyms. DLDSR just on its own.
No, so just DLSS, but using this. I don't know if it's a new method or if it's how people have figured out how to achieve this, but basically you just override the Tarkov settings. You choose quality. It goes in Nvidia's profile and like finds, okay, what is that value? It's 66%. You override the Nvidia stuff to your number, and apparently it's like between 33 and 99%. You can't do 100 for reasons, but yeah. So it'd be in like within Nvidia's I don't know, standardization, ultra quality is like a setting for DLSS that we don't have in Tarkov, but that's 75%, which if you're playing on a 1440p monitor, that makes it 1080p. The game runs at 1080p and gets, AI upscale to 1440p, which is, for me, it's like better than 66%, because 66% is like the next tier down, I think, is 50%. I might be wrong about that.
It's quite a lot. I think apparently, so it's quality is about 66.7, balance is 58, and performance is 50.
Yeah, 50 is really rough. I think there's maybe even an ultra performance.
There's an ultra performance too. That's 33%.
Yeah, okay, now that's the one that is like extreme. Like it's just like you have to be around like a 1060. Like it's super.
It says here like this mode renders at 33%. It is only recommended for resolutions from 8K.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Because that would be. I don't even want to know what the map is, but that I don't even know. I don't even want to do that. Okay, I'm not going to do it. Anyways. Yeah,
because that's the thing. Like 33% is maybe okay if you're running big enough that it's running in some sensible res normally, and then you're just like blowing it up for a huge screen for some reason.
Sure.
because you've got enough information to work with. There,
Yeah,
but like it's
yeah.
just so niche that it's just stupid. I tried it in Grey Zone Warfare as well, and it's just like
it's
just like fever dream of flickeriness and just like horrible.
Yeah.
Combine that with frame gen, and it's just
Oh god, it's like
half the game's like you're playing on like Game Boy, and like the rest of it's just made up by the AI dreaming.
abstract art in motion. Get good.
Yeah, you're freaking like hallucinations, like Salvador Dali appearing, like clocks melting in the background and stuff. Yeah. No, so apparently, was for what I was reading around, apparently there's an update to in the latest drivers, like literally the latest Nvidia driver pack has an update that allows you to like rehook into this thing to do the thing.
Okay.
And the reason why it doesn't work in Tarkov is because these things all need to get like whitelisted in the Nvidia app.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look in my Nvidia app and go to the Tarkov bit, so before when people were fiddling around with the preset, and you could go, and this is like the preset for DLSS, and you could go into override model and it says support not detected. But you could use like use different settings and then set the super resolution setting. Apparently, so because that worked for Model K and you could do it easily in the Nvidia app. The part where you would need to do it in the Nvidia app is in that section, but there's three. There's model presets, which you can change for Tarkov. There's frame generation, which just says unsupported and doesn't let you. And then there's another one called DLSS override super resolution. That's also unsupported, and that is where you can do it for some games where it's whitelisted. So it says, allows you to enable DLSS super resolution modes not supported in certain DLSS games. Typical usage scenarios, enabling DLAA is what it says in the Nvidia app. So that part, it's grayed out, so you can't click it. So you can technically do it using the Nvidia app based on this the most recent Nvidia driver update. But in the Nvidia app, it's not supported yet, so you can't do that. But like, if that got whitelisted, in theory, you could just go in there and type in 99%. But I don't actually know what that menu looks like. I've never done it, right? But I don't know what that menu looks like. But you might be able to, for each preset, you might be able to set the percentage or something along those lines anyway. So you wouldn't have to do it. You wouldn't have to go on GitHub and uninstall all your drivers, reinstall, use the third-party tool. Oh no, but what happens if BSG catch me? Oh, and it gets all sketchy and people don't like it, right? So people just get antsy about this stuff because if anybody asks BSG, is this okay? They will say no.
Yeah.
Even if they can't detect it, right? Like they're in a position where you can't ask the question. It's one of those things where you can't ask the question. Right? It's like, what are some things in life that are, not like necessarily that legal, but like nobody ever policed it or anything like that. It's like if you turned up to the police station and said, "Am I allowed to do X?" they would say no.
Yeah.
But
That's how
everybody
it feels.
does it. That's how it feels. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
BSG's been like that about loads of stuff for many years. You can never ask that. You have to take your own risk, right? It's like you're at your own risk, but a lot of these things, like, are BSG actually going to police this stuff? Can they police this stuff? Can they even see this stuff? It's like the LUT thing, right? They can't even tell when you're doing the LUT thing. But so many people end up using it, and so many people said, "BSG, is this okay? Oh, can we do this? Oh, can we do this?" And they said, "No, we're gonna have to ban it now." Like, come on, don't ask. Like, if you force us to answer, we're gonna tell you no, because like we can't say yes. Like, they can't say yes to stuff like that. They just can't.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay to go in the third-party tool and start fiddling with stuff? Like, they just can't, like, unless they just can't say yes to it. It's just people have to be realistic about this stuff.
Yeah, and like, who reasonably is gonna have the time? Like, Nikki doesn't want to pay someone to answer these types of questions. You know what I mean? Like, to thoroughly investigate
that they haven't
this
understood.
stuff.
Exactly. It's like if they say yes and then it actually opens up all sorts of nonsense, then they suddenly go, "Oh, actually, no, we meant no." Then they look like idiots, right? It's like it's way easier just to say no, and then for them to, which to be fair, right? Because in the past, BSG's just said no and then just shut it down and been like denied, and that's the end of it. Whereas recently, in fairness, they've said like they were like, don't mess around with the DLL. Just like give us a few weeks and we'll have a look. And then they sorted it out, and now the preset model is in the settings. Like, BSG a lot better now than they used to be about this stuff. Like, if people were asking about the DLSS model overrides like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it would have just been a "Das ist verboten." Do not even try and do this, Whereas now they're kind of like receptive to feedback and will actually go and look into it and add stuff to the game. Like, they do feel like they do a lot more of that stuff now, as evidenced by the DLSS model. So I think we just like bring it up with them in that way and say, "Please, can you add this?" Like, rather than being like, "Can we can we cock about with the settings behind the scenes using third-party tools from GitHub? Being the question. The question should really be, please can you add the DLSS override so that we can change quality to 95% in the app? Could you please whitelist the Nvidia update so that we're allowed to do this? That's a much more sensible question. You might actually get a proper response, and then everybody can do it rather than just enthusiasts on GitHub who want to uninstall and reinstall their drivers 5 million times. I certainly don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. It's annoying. I'd rather it be done in game. Like, if you're just an individual gaming, it's probably not that bad. But as a creator, I'm like slightly concerned about just the perception of some of this stuff. Even though it's strictly not if it's strictly not forbidden. If I'm doing it publicly, it's different. If I'm just doing it on my own, for one, and then secondly, dual PCs and all of the stuff that got set up, all streamers just live in fear of these things breaking, and reinstalling and uninstalling graphics drivers is like the last thing that I want to be doing. It's just simply the last thing that I want to be doing. So I want it in the game. I want to be able to press button and then it work within the game. So we should probably ask that question, and we should probably put it on Tarkov.community.
That's probably where it
should go.
One of the funny things that's stuck with me, from working with Airing Marine, he would often say this phrase, and often in relationship to BSG, and it goes something like, "It's better to beg for forgiveness than ask permission," which honestly is just stuck to me as a life, one of those altruisms in life.
Mm-hmm.
Something I wanted,
I've certainly heard that one before.
Engraved on my tombstone.
Yeah,
but that's kind of how I feel. It's because I find the problem too, especially with PSG. Sometimes it's when we do ask, it's either it, I think one that comes to mind is post effects, and I guess you could say presets for maps is one I see. But even when we originally, this was so long ago, but back when you could use Nvidia filters through Nvidia GeForce Experience to change all parts of the game. I mean, I remember doing this partially, but lowering film grain, and changing contrast and color stuff. Granted, there was there's a reason why you can blacklist it, developers can. But that being said, it's okay, we're gonna get something that VSG provides, and I kid you not, 90% of those filters, presets, are just absolute garbage. They're artistic at best. Hotshot, what? Why is everything orange hued and burnt out? It's just, who is ever using this? You can't even have it on 5% intensity. It's unusable. It's just actual garbage. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's sometimes just yeah, this would be great if we had X feature. It's well, I didn't know you were gonna do it like that, but But that's just
exactly.
That's just Tarkov. That's just console territory.
I reckon all people really going to use it for is just turning feather on and off.
That's
if they have presets for post effects.
Yeah, I mean the other one,
they're 100% for nighttime.
Some people Chill Wave. I used to use that one for interchange specifically because it would make the blacks blacker and it adds more contrast. But it was weird because you had to only apply a little bit of it. I'm sure there's what's the other one that I've messed with? But yeah, it's just you're absolutely right. The feather trick is definitely the go-to for very specific things. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That would probably be the only preset it would use per map. Maybe a few things for contrast and brightness. Anyways, let me tell you about the city of Tarkov.
Oh, the old Rust.
Yes.
Adaptation thing.
The old Rust. So I happened to catch wind of. Actually, I joined their Discord server, and I'm glad I did because then they announced or posted, however you want to say it, a reveal trailer for City of I keep messing up the name every time. It's City of Tarkov, Rust, community map, whatever, and it's gonna be it's gonna come with 5 maps. There's gonna be task. More in the description. So it's a 1-to-1 creation of EFT maps in Rust, providing the open world Tarkov experience, as well as a unique game mode that features different progression to the one present in Rust, which that's that's in of itself is interesting. But there's 170 unique tasks, 150 interactable NPCs, random daily
Whoa.
tasks, and events, 2 playable factions, and much more. Players will need to build bases, gather loot, fight the opposing PMC faction, and earn the trust of the traders around the city in order to progress. I'm very intrigued. I was thinking about this and I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of like my wet dream fantasy of Tarkov. It's like, remember how I used to
Yeah.
harp so much on like, oh my god, open world Tarkov would be like the best thing ever since Light Fled. This is kind of like that, except it's with Rust mechanics. So like, there is going to be something lost, but at the same time, there's something very surreal about this idea of like visiting these like iconic recreations of locations. And then like I'm also intrigued as like the details that aren't mentioned, like because there's I think towards the end there's an overview, which is like kind of crazy because it basically only captures customs, but like
Okay.
what's in between the maps that we know and love? It's like where are they? I didn't even realize they said 150 interactable NPCs. I don't know what that means. I have like no idea. Are these like traders? Are these like they sell stuff to give quests? Are these like scav? Is this like enemy AI?
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. Nevertheless, I think it would be fun just to like try it for a little bit. I can't see myself losing myself into it, like abandoning all, you know.
Never say never.
I've already abandoned grass. I don't know what the next thing to abandon would be.
It's Tarkov, but it plays like DayZ, but it's actually Rust.
Exactly. Yeah, look at
I mean,
this.
it sounds insane, no?
Yeah, I mean it does, because it's like, oh man, the amount of like rust.
Yeah, look at that.
I know, isn't this crazy? There's a
So can you see like the edge there? So there's customs, right? And then
yeah. Let me skip a
that's
few
gas station.
frames.
Yeah, does it get how far does it go?
So in the
Because the bit
very
above is
top
woods.
right, there's interchange, and I'm pretty sure interchange is not finished. He's like the developer's still working on that. But yeah, this entire square section here is just customs. And
Yeah, but in the bottom right, that's reserve, right?
well, it's the path to reserve at least, because there's
Yeah,
the
it's like the path to
train.
reserve.
Yeah, and then
So there's like
here,
a settlement between. Oh wait,
it,
no, sorry, is that? Oh wait, yeah, because
no,
that's not
that
because that's
is
gas. So that's the outpost
yeah,
you're
and
looking
that
at
would
there.
probably would
That's
be the dumpster extract.
maybe a bit further, I think, because I
Yeah,
think
maybe a
that
bit
goes up
further.
to the pylon on the hill the other way. So yeah, a bit further, and then after that, yeah, okay, that's so cool. But the bit above is woods.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all
yeah, the bit
woods. You can
above
see the
customs is wood. This
mountain.
is definitely woods. Yeah, that's the mountain. There's the curve of the lake around Sawmill. The RUAF is the sort of intersection by the big orange building and the water. That's like the extract, right? Like
Yeah,
it's awesome.
yeah, and like yeah, just because there's footage here somewhere. I thought it's also interesting. I noticed this. You see this? This is we're on like 2-story dorms or something, 3-story dorms on the staircase. But you see this like weird brick pattern.
Yeah.
I guess it's a compromise. They had to like reuse. Like this is all built with Rust assets apparently, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the textures look like just look odd, and I guess that's just a compromise of how they were able to build the map pieces. But
Yeah, they're really, really tall. It's interesting. It's a lot taller than it is in Tarkov. It's like one whole thing higher.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure it's
Maybe it's
gonna
just to
be.
fix some problem.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine because model height being different, like player model height. But this is the really interesting
Mm.
part. This is presumably reserve.
Yeah,
Actually, I don't know because this doesn't look like. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
it definitely is reserve. It
Yeah, it
definitely is
definitely
because
is.
you've got
Yeah,
the room on the left, you've got the middle room, which
yeah.
is I always end up stuck behind, and then the trains bit, and then the fuel canisters on the top right, and
You know, you're right. Definitely reserve. But the interesting point for me was two things I noticed was the train, like in Rust, there's like a
mm,
train system, and there's like multiple different train systems of various kinds, but you could like put fuel into the train and travel with that. And as you know, like the train in Tarkov, I think it like there's a lot of interconnectivity. So it would be really cool
yeah.
like to ride the train to different maps. Like that would be a really cool experience. And then this is a feature. This is like a there's like a tank slash APC thing in Rust. It's like a AI, and I assume that's what this is here. That's because it's like on fire and you get loot from it. So I assume there's gonna be a similar thing on Reserve. Like I don't know. It's just like I'm here for it. I don't think it's gonna be like the best thing since sliced bread because it's still gonna be like at its core Rust, but just to like get a conceptual idea as an experience that's like
Mm.
as close as possible. For now, I think it's gonna be kind of cool to its experience. So I'm excited.
It is definitely cool. It's
April
definitely cool.
3rd, I think it was.
Oh, really? So it's like super soon.
Super soon. Yeah,
Oh, that's actually really interesting.
it is. It is. It is
Awesome.
just also just so weird seeing some of this stuff. And you know what? To give credit to Tarkov, I noticed like the interior lighting in like Rust, it's like pretty rudimentary. It feels like.
Mm.
Like the exterior looks fine, but like the interior, there were some of these like this factory stuff here. It's like there's a very you know strong global illumination present,
Yeah.
whereas
So
like
that everything's just lit up always.
yeah, and like yeah, there is some brighter areas and light shafts coming in as you would expect, but it's just like yeah, it does kind of have like a very cartoony look to it. Whereas like Tarkov is like got a much more broader range in terms of like the lighting. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, this is gonna be super weird. It's gonna be like familiar but different.
It's funny because like I've not really played Rust either, so
Hmm.
going into this, I don't know whether that's going to be better or worse because like I have no preconceived notion of like what the movement or anything like that should be, having not played Rust. It'll just be like a new experience for me. Whereas for like someone who's played quite a lot of Rust, it's going to be a bit probably more odd, but you'll have an advantage. If like somebody used Tarkov, like built something in with Tarkov mechanics, it's like, oh, you understand how to do the fighting and blah blah. But it's a bit
Yeah,
strange in these other ways, trying to unlearn stuff.
I would say it's
I'm gonna
like
have to see.
it's not. Unfortunately, most of your Tarkov stuff is not gonna translate over. Like, yeah, I wish like there was leaning. I wish that was a thing because
Is there
man,
no leading in Rust?
there's no leaning. This is like pretty.
Okay.
Rest is like the sandbox survival game. Big emphasis on sandbox. So like it's not super leaning into realism or you know mechanics, gunplay, things like that. So
Mm. Fascinating. No, it's
yeah,
gonna be interesting. It's I what was I gonna say? There was something about. Oh yeah, the fact that they've got like the rocket launcher in already. They're gonna have the
yeah,
RPG or the rocket launcher and blow up the BTR before we have an actual EFT. Like this is an inspired mod or whatever, but because it's already in Rust, like they could
right.
just bring it in and you can just like blow it up and have the mechanics that people thought. Because I always thought you could have like blow up the BTR, get to fight with it, whatever, take it down to get like a cache of rare stuff. Like we talked about
Hmm.
that ages ago. But
Hmm.
every time we just keep getting edged by Nikita about these RPGs, and it's just never seems to be coming. We'll see. We'll see.
Let's see.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. This could be cool. This could be cool. We could play some.
Yeah,
Maybe we get like get some. I don't know how many people it's going to be like designed for.
yeah, that's a great question. I guess
Almost might be worth trying to get a group together or something. I don't know.
I do not know. I don't even know how much interest is in this thing either. It could be like 30
we're
people.
drumming it. We're drumming it up.
30
It's us.
people in like a really tight, this giant Tarkov map, and it's like, yeah, it could be like that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll have to see.
Cool stuff.
Ace.
All right.
Cool. Well, onto the Labyrinth at some point when my schedule allows. God, I've got to get this audio video done first before I lose my mind, and then we'll see.
Yeah. And then you can do the same thing next week when they change the audio again, Giga. Until then, though, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Catch you later.